It is 3 in the morning. The fluorescent lights of the emergency veterinary clinic hum above you. Your dog is somewhere behind a closed door, and you are sitting in a plastic chair trying not to think about the cost. The receptionist said it could be anywhere from $800 to $3,000. You don't know what's wrong yet. You just know something is very wrong. And in that moment, sitting under those lights, all you can think about is whether you could have seen this coming. Whether there was something different you could have done. Whether another breed, another choice, might have kept you both home. Here's what most people never find out: some breeds almost never put their owners in that chair. Not because they're luckier. Not because their owners love them more carefully. But because of genetics. Because of history. Because of thousands of years of natural selection that built resilience into their bones before anyone even thought about selective breeding for appearance. This countdown reveals 30 dog breeds ranked by their exceptional health records, their biological durability, and their quiet, remarkable ability to live long and full lives without frequent medical emergencies. We're starting with the solid dogs that are genuinely healthy choices. And building, step by step, toward the extraordinary. Because by the time we reach number 1, you will have heard a story that almost no one believes the first time they encounter it. If you love dogs as much as we do and you're new here, hitting that subscribe button takes 1 second, and every video on this channel is worth your time. Let's begin where most people start: the popular breeds. The dogs you see at every park, in every neighborhood, on every block in America. The breeds that millions of families already know and love. And the truth about their health might surprise you more than you expect. The Labrador Retriever has spent more than 30 consecutive years as the most popular dog in the United States. That kind of cultural endurance isn't accidental. Labs were originally bred in Newfoundland to retrieve fishing nets in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic, which means their bodies were built for endurance, not elegance. They typically weigh between 55 and 80 pounds, and when properly maintained, regular exercise, healthy weight, quality food, they can live 12 to 14 years with remarkable consistency. Their most common health challenges involve joint issues and obesity-related problems, both of which are largely preventable with attentive ownership. The real danger with this breed isn't genetic. It's the couch. Keep them moving, keep them lean, and the emergency room visit may never come. The Golden Retriever sits at number 29, and that placement carries a quiet message. Goldens are genuinely robust dogs, typically 65 to 75 pounds, built for outdoor work, with coats designed for weather and bodies designed for sustained physical effort. Their most significant health concern is cancer, which affects the breed at higher rates than many others. But what those statistics often miss is this. Goldens with active lifestyles, thoughtful breeding, and regular veterinary checkups tend to live well into their early teens with minimal emergency intervention. A well-bred Golden from health-tested parents is a profoundly different story than the statistics suggest. Their foundational health is strong. Their warmth is legendary. And when circumstances align in their favor, they give their families a decade or more of uncomplicated, joyful life. The Beagle enters at number 28 with a secret most casual observers miss. These dogs were bred to run for hours through English fields, tracking scents with extraordinary endurance. That stamina lives in their biology. Weighing between 20 and 30 pounds, their compact and muscular bodies were designed for sustained physical effort, not apartment life, though they adapt to both with characteristic enthusiasm. Beagles carry very few breed-specific catastrophic health conditions. Their biggest vulnerabilities tend to be ear infections and the eternal gravitational pull of extra food. A beagle that receives daily exercise and proper ear care may spend years visiting nothing beyond routine checkups. And in a world where a single emergency visit can exceed $2,000, a decade of clean health records is more than comfort. It's financial survival. The poodle appears here, and perhaps that surprises you. The elegant haircut, the refined posture, the aristocratic demeanor, none of it screams biological toughness. But beneath the styling lives one of the healthiest breeds ever documented. Standard poodles were originally water retrievers. They swam in cold European rivers to bring back game for hunters, which means their bodies were built for genuine physical work. Their cardiovascular systems are exceptional. Their longevity is remarkable, many poodles live 14, 15, even 16 years. You don't command a poodle. You negotiate with it like a tiny royal advisor. But you also rarely negotiate with emergency veterinarians. The breed's baseline health, across all three sizes, is quietly extraordinary. The German Shepherd carries an almost mythological reputation in American life, police dogs, military service, search and rescue, airport security. That reputation exists because the breed is genuinely exceptional, and part of that exceptionalism is physical durability. German Shepherds were designed to work. Their muscular frames, cardiovascular capacity, and mental endurance were engineered for demanding physical roles. Their primary health vulnerabilities involve hip and elbow dysplasia, especially in poorly bred lines. But a German Shepherd from health-tested parents, maintained at a lean weight and given serious daily exercise, tends to avoid the emergency room with remarkable frequency. This is a dog that was built to run toward problems. Its body reflects that purpose. The Australian Shepherd closes the opening group with characteristic energy. Aussies were perfected on American ranches, not in Australia, despite the name, where they worked cattle from sunup to sundown in every kind of weather imaginable. Their bodies reflect that history: lean, powerful, deeply efficient, designed to move and keep moving. They typically weigh between 40 and 65 pounds, and their athletic build translates into impressive biological resilience. Their primary risks involve certain genetic eye conditions, but in healthy, active Aussies from responsible breeders, serious emergencies are comparatively rare. Give an Australian Shepherd a purpose, and their natural vitality tends to keep them far from crisis. Give them nothing to do, and they'll create their own solutions, and you probably won't enjoy those solutions. There's a group of dogs that most experienced trainers will describe, with a certain exhaustion in their voice, as among the most challenging to live with. Terriers. Stubborn, relentless, perpetually convinced their judgment is superior to yours, and entirely unwilling to negotiate the terms of that conviction. But here's what those trainers rarely say: that same psychological toughness, that iron will, that absolute refusal to quit, it lives in their bodies, too. Terriers were built like biological arguments. Their stubbornness extends all the way down to the cellular level. And their immune systems feel exactly the same way. The Jack Russell Terrier weighs between 13 and 17 pounds, which is almost offensive given the quantity of personality and energy compressed into that frame. Originally bred in England to chase foxes into underground dens, a job that required squeezing through tunnels and confronting animals capable of seriously injuring them, Jack Russells developed a biological resilience that borders on the astonishing. They are almost impossibly healthy dogs. Their compact, muscular bodies carry very few breed-specific serious conditions. Many live 15 to 18 years with almost no significant medical intervention. Living with a Jack Russell is like negotiating with a tiny athlete who never runs out of energy or opinions. Loving one means decades of companionship with almost no emergency room floors beneath your feet. The Cairn Terrier might be best known to American audiences as Toto from The Wizard of Oz, but the breed's real story is far more interesting than Hollywood ever captured. Cairn Terriers were bred in the Scottish Highlands to flush prey from rocky cairns, stone mounds scattered across terrain that would break most other dogs. Weighing just 10 to 14 pounds, cairns are surprisingly robust animals with few serious inherited health conditions. Their wiry double coats protect them from the elements. Their compact frames minimize joint stress. Their terrier stubbornness extends into biological tenacity that would impress anyone. Many cairns live well into their mid-teens, visiting the vet primarily for routine care and the occasional wound from an argument they started with a dog 3 times their size. The Rat Terrier is perhaps the most underrated working dog in American history. Bred specifically to control rat populations on American farms in the early 20th century, Rat Terriers had to be fast, fearless, and physically durable enough to work outdoors through every season: scorching summers, frozen winters, everything the American landscape could throw at them. They typically weigh between 10 and 25 pounds, and their lean, athletic bodies carry very few breed-specific emergencies. Theodore Roosevelt reportedly kept them at the White House and credited them with ridding the building of its infestation. A dog trusted to work in the White House cannot afford to be fragile. Rat Terriers proved they weren't. And their descendants still carry that biological inheritance today. The Border Terrier is small enough to be dismissed and tough enough to make you immediately regret that dismissal. Bred along the English-Scottish border to keep pace with horses and hounds during fox hunts, a job that demanded endurance, weather resistance, and remarkable physical capability from a dog weighing only 11 to 16 pounds, Border Terriers have one of the cleanest health records in the entire terrier family. Their small, wiry frames and dense double coats were designed for outdoor life, and their biology reflects that design faithfully. Few breed-specific catastrophic conditions. Impressive longevity. A constitution that treats obstacles, including illness, as temporary inconveniences beneath serious consideration. The miniature Schnauzer closes the terrier chapter with quiet authority. Born from working farm stock in Germany, where they caught rats, guarded property, and worked outdoors in every conceivable weather, miniature Schnauzers developed a compact, efficient biology that has aged with remarkable grace. They typically weigh between 11 and 20 pounds. Their double coats protect them from the elements. Their alert terrier-sharp constitutions tend to handle common health threats with the same stubborn confidence they apply to every other challenge they encounter. Their most notable risks involve certain metabolic conditions in some lines, but in well-maintained miniature Schnauzers, serious emergencies are comparatively rare. Beneath the dignified beard and those famous bushy eyebrows lives a dog that was built to endure. And endure they do, year after decade, with minimal complaint. Some dogs were created for beauty. Some for companionship. Some for show rings and perfectly curated social media profiles. And then there are dogs that were built for something far more demanding, actual labor. The breeds in this next group were developed not for how they looked, but for what they could physically accomplish over long distances, through difficult terrain, day after day, regardless of weather or exhaustion. And that demanding history lives in every cell of their bodies. The Vizsla is Hungary's national dog, and if you've never encountered one, you have been missing one of the most quietly impressive breeds in the world. Vizslas were bred to hunt in the vast Hungarian plains, where they worked as both pointer and retriever, a combination that required extraordinary physical versatility and athletic efficiency in a single body. They typically weigh between 45 and 60 pounds, and their golden rust coats fit tight against lean, powerful muscle. Vizslas are famously healthy dogs. Their breed-specific health concerns are minimal compared to most breeds of similar popularity. Many live 12 to 15 years. And their deep emotional bonds with their owners, Vizslas, are often called Velcro dogs because they refuse to be separated, mean they tend to receive attentive, consistent care. A dog that is loved carefully tends to be a dog that stays healthy. The Vizsla proves that relationship at every turn. The Brittany Spaniel occupies a peculiar space in American dog culture, beloved by hunters, largely invisible to everyone else. That neglect is a genuine shame, because the Brittany is one of the most athletically impressive medium-sized dogs alive. Bred in the French region of the same name for bird hunting, Britain has combined the nose of a spaniel with the endurance of a working dog in a compact, 35 to 40-pound frame. Their health record is exceptional. Few serious inherited conditions. Remarkable cardiovascular endurance that tends to keep their biological systems in outstanding condition throughout their lives. A well-exercised Brittany is a very healthy Brittany. And a Brittany without enough exercise is merely a problem searching enthusiastically for a solution. The English Springer Spaniel brings centuries of British hunting heritage to this list. Originally bred to flush birds from dense cover and retrieve them from cold water, Springers develop genuinely impressive physical capabilities, powerful swimmers, strong runners, endurance athletes compressed into a medium-sized frame. They typically weigh between 40 and 50 pounds. Well-bred Springers from health-tested parents tend toward remarkable biological stability, with few emergencies interrupting their 12 to 14-year lives. These are dogs that were designed to work dawn to dusk in English fields, in rain and wind and cold, without complaint. That historical toughness did not disappear when they moved into American living rooms. It simply found quieter ways to express itself. The Belgian Malinois is perhaps the most physically extreme dog on this entire list. Used by military and police forces worldwide, Malinois are asked to perform tasks that would destroy less capable animals, scaling walls, working in gunfire, operating in temperatures from desert heat to Arctic cold, parachuting from aircraft alongside their handlers. Their bodies were built for exactly that level of demand. Lean, explosive, with cardiovascular systems that belong in anatomy textbooks, the Belgian Malinois has a biological profile that veterinarians describe with genuine admiration. They are not beginner dogs, their intelligence and intensity require experienced, committed handling. But their physical durability is extraordinary. A Malinois that receives proper training, serious exercise, and consistent care almost never requires emergency intervention. Because their bodies, quite simply, were engineered not to fail under pressure. The Border Collie closes this chapter as the most intelligent dog in the world, a designation earned through decades of scientific study that keeps confirming the same conclusion. But intelligence brings its own form of physical resilience. Border Collies were bred on the Scottish-English border to herd sheep across miles of rough terrain, working in tight, almost telepathic synchrony with human partners. Their bodies reflect that heritage. Lean, efficient, athletically elite in a 40 to 55 pound frame. Their health record is excellent for a breed of their widespread popularity. Well-bred Border Collies from reputable lines tend to live 12 to 15 years with remarkable consistency. But there's one breed still ahead on this list that surprised even the experts, and it is still coming. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the Alaskan interior in January. Temperatures at 40 below zero. Wind that cuts through every layer of protection you have. Darkness that lasts 20 hours a day. Now imagine living there, not surviving, but working. Running 50 miles in a single day across sea ice, trusting your teammates with your life, sleeping in the snow, waking to do it again. That is the world that built the next group of dogs. And when the environment that shaped you is actively trying to kill you every single day, the result is a body that almost nothing can touch. The Siberian Husky was developed by the Chukchi people of northeastern Siberia over thousands of years to pull sleds across vast frozen distances on minimal food. That last detail carries enormous biological significance. Huskies were genetically optimized to metabolize food with extraordinary efficiency. Their bodies developed remarkable internal systems simply to survive on less fuel than other dogs require. They typically weigh between 35 and 60 pounds, lighter than most people expect, and their double coats regulate body temperature in ways that continue to impress researchers. Their stubbornness is legendary and entirely real. A husky doesn't ignore your commands because it misunderstood them. It ignores them because it already considered your request, evaluated it independently, and chose otherwise. That same confident independence lives in their biology. Huskies don't get sick easily. They simply weren't built for fragility. The Arctic didn't allow for it. The Alaskan Malamute is what happens when you take the husky concept and scale it significantly upward for heavy freight. Where huskies were bred for speed across long distances, Malamutes were bred for power, pulling enormous loads through Arctic terrain where failure meant death for both dog and the humans depending on them. They typically carry between 75 and 100 pounds of dense, powerful muscle. Their immune systems reflect their historical environment. Developed under conditions where illness was not an option, where biological weakness was eliminated by the land itself before it could be passed on to the next generation. Malamutes require genuine commitment from their owners. Their size, their energy, and their stubborn independence all demand serious engagement. But their baseline health is exceptional, built by an environment that tolerated nothing less than extraordinary. The Norwegian Elkhound is Scandinavia's oldest surviving dog breed, and possibly one of the oldest breeds still existing anywhere in the world. Viking hunters used these dogs to track moose and bear in Norwegian forests, prey that could easily kill both dog and hunter, across terrain that tested every biological system these animals possessed. That history built a body of extraordinary resilience. Typically weighing 48 to 55 pounds, Norwegian Elkhounds have compact, powerful frames and thick double coats that protected them through centuries of Nordic winters. Their health record is remarkably clean. Strong cardiovascular systems. A robust constitution reflecting thousands of years of natural selection in one of the planet's most demanding environments. These are not modern dogs shaped by kennel clubs and breed standards. They are ancient ones, forged by real adversity. And ancient things, tempered by genuine challenge, tend to endure far beyond what appears possible. The Samoyed carries a coat so dense and brilliantly white that it seems impossible, something an artist invented rather than something nature actually produced. But that coat was not decorative. It was survival. The Samoyed people of Siberia depended on these dogs as sled pullers, reindeer herders, and sleeping companions in temperatures approaching 60 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Dogs that could not perform at that level simply did not survive long enough to reproduce. The result, after thousands of years of that relentless selection pressure, is a dog of remarkable biological quality. Their health record in well-tested lines is genuinely impressive. Their characteristic smile, a physical feature of the breed created by the upward curve of their mouths, looks like permanent joy. It also, quietly, looks like a dog that has never spent a desperate night under fluorescent emergency room lights. The Akita closes the Arctic chapter with silent, dignified power. Japan's national dog, the Akita was used to hunt bear in the mountainous regions of Honshu, a job demanding physical strength, emotional steadiness, and a tolerance for extreme conditions that most breeds cannot approach. Akitas typically weigh between 70 and 130 pounds, and their physical health is generally exceptional in well-bred lines. These are not dogs that communicate with noise or enthusiasm. They are silent, deliberate, and precisely calibrated in everything they do. Their bodies feel exactly the same way, nothing wasted, nothing fragile, everything purposeful. An Akita doesn't follow you because it was told to. It follows because it decided you were worth following. And once it makes that decision, it makes it completely. There are dogs that look as though they should be in a museum, sleek, aerodynamic, almost too beautiful to be practical. And then you discover that beauty and durability are not opposites. That sometimes the most elegant form is also the most efficient one. That nature, when left to do its work without interference, produces designs that are both stunning and almost indestructible. The Whippet weighs between 25 and 40 pounds and appears, at first glance, genuinely fragile. Narrow chest. Long, thin legs. Barely any body fat. Like a greyhound someone accidentally left in the dryer too long. But the Whippet is profoundly deceptive. That slender build is a masterpiece of biological efficiency. Developed in England for rabbit coursing, sprinting after prey at speeds approaching 35 miles per hour. Whippets have cardiovascular systems that belong in anatomy textbooks. Their hearts are proportionally larger than most breeds their size. Their lung capacity is exceptional. And because they carry almost no body fat, they avoid many of the obesity-related conditions that routinely send other dogs to emergency rooms. Whippets are quiet, gentle, deeply affectionate companions indoors. They sprint when the moment demands it. They curl up beside you when stillness is what you both need. And they do all of it with a biological profile that makes most veterinarians quietly, genuinely impressed. The Greyhound surprises everyone who sees it on this list. When most Americans imagine a greyhound, they picture a racing dog, and racing dogs don't immediately suggest models of long-term health. But retired racing greyhounds are, biologically speaking, among the healthiest large dogs available for adoption in the United States. Their bodies were bred and conditioned to perform at elite levels: lean muscle, exceptional cardiac function, almost zero body fat. Off the track, they transform into what devoted owners call 45-mile-per-hour couch potatoes. They sleep 16 hours a day. They ask for 2 short daily walks. They rarely bark. They are sensitive to cold because of their minimal body fat, and they need soft bedding and warmth in winter. But their actual biological resilience is extraordinary once they leave racing behind and enter home life. Their emergency room visits, in the hands of attentive owners, are genuinely rare. A greyhound doesn't overwhelm a home. It fills it with calm, quiet, athletic grace. And it does it for 10 to 14 years with a health record that consistently astonishes first-time greyhound owners. The Portuguese water dog has a story that begins on the Atlantic coast of Portugal, where fishing villages depended on these dogs to retrieve nets, carry messages between boats in open water, and herd fish toward nets in the cold Atlantic swells. The ocean tested them constantly and without mercy. saltwater, cold temperatures, physical exhaustion, sustained exposure to a genuinely hostile environment, everything the Atlantic threw at them, their bodies absorbed and endured. That biological inheritance is remarkable. Portuguese water dogs typically weigh between 35 and 60 pounds. Their waterproof coats and powerful, compact bodies reflect their maritime origins completely. Their health record is strong in well-bred lines. Certain genetic conditions exist, but health-tested Portuguese water dogs tend toward impressive longevity with few emergency situations. This is a dog that the Atlantic Ocean tried to break for centuries. The ocean did not succeed. Some dogs are products of human civilization, shaped by deliberate breeding programs, kennel clubs, and scientific selection toward specific physical and behavioral traits. And then there are dogs so ancient that the hands of human history barely touched them at all. Dogs whose genetics remained virtually unchanged for thousands of years, because the original design was simply too good to require improvement. The Shiba Inu is Japan's smallest native breed and also one of the country's oldest surviving dogs. Archaeological evidence suggests ancestors of the Shiba Inu existed in Japan as long as 3,000 years ago, used to hunt small game in mountainous terrain where their compact, fox-like bodies were honed by those conditions across countless generations. They typically weigh between 17 and 23 pounds. Their health record is excellent compared to most breeds of similar modern popularity: few serious inherited conditions, strong immune response, remarkable longevity that frequently extends into their mid-teens. The Shiba Inu is also famously, defiantly independent. It decides what matters. It decides when to comply. It decides whether your authority is legitimate. And its body, shaped by 3,000 years of Japanese mountains and the hunting demands of ancient villages, has apparently decided that illness is simply beneath serious consideration. The Basenji is sometimes called the barkless dog, but silence is far from its most interesting quality. Basenjis are one of the oldest dog breeds on Earth, originating in Central Africa where they were used by hunter-gatherer peoples for thousands of years and brought to Egypt, where images strongly resembling the Basenji appear in ancient tomb paintings created before most of the world's current civilizations existed. Here is the biological truth about the Basenji. Their genome is among the least modified by human selective breeding of any domestic dog alive. They are closer, genetically, to their ancestral form than nearly any other breed. And that ancient, essentially unaltered genome carries extraordinary robustness built by the African wilderness over millennia. Basenjis don't bark. They communicate with a sound called a baru, a yodel-like vocalization unlike anything else a domestic dog produces. They clean themselves like cats. They are convinced, completely and without negotiation, that your rules apply to everyone in the household except themselves. But their health, rooted in thousands of years of survival in conditions that eliminated weakness mercilessly, is genuinely exceptional. When you share your home with a Basenji, you are sharing it with an animal whose biology was stress-tested by the ancient world itself. And it passed. The Pharaoh Hound is the national dog of Malta, and its appearance is arrestingly beautiful: large amber eyes, a long and narrow head, a rose-colored nose that flushes deeper pink when the dog is excited or happy, an almost unique physiological response in the canine world. The coat is so short and tight it looks like a painting of a dog rather than an actual living animal. The breed's origins trace back to ancient Egypt, and DNA analysis confirms that Pharaoh Hounds are among the most genetically primitive dog breeds still alive. Maltese tradition holds that these dogs arrived on the island with Phoenician traders thousands of years ago. Whether or not that specific origin story is fully provable, the biological reality is verifiable: the Pharaoh Hound carries genetics shaped by natural selection rather than human breeding programs. Few serious inherited conditions. Impressive natural longevity. A constitution built by history rather than by kennel clubs. And before you meet the dog at the top of this list, the breed that set a record no living animal has ever touched, consider that even the Pharaoh Hound, with all its ancient biological heritage, cannot match what is coming. We are almost there. 3 breeds remain. And what follows isn't simply information about healthy dogs. It is the culmination of everything this countdown has been building toward since the very first word. The small dog that outlives almost everything placed beside it. The cheerful companion with a biological profile that surprises every veterinarian who takes the time to review it honestly. And then, the story that permanently changed what we believed was possible for a living dog. The Chihuahua is the smallest dog breed in the world. Most weigh under 6 pounds. They can fit in a coat pocket. They look, at first glance, like something that requires exceptionally careful handling, kept away from staircases, from large dogs, from any situation that might remind them of their actual physical dimensions. But the Chihuahua's biological reality is almost the opposite of its fragile appearance. This is one of the longest-lived dog breeds on Earth. Many Chihuahuas live 15 to 17 years. Some live past 20. Their tiny frames carry almost none of the joint stress conditions that plague larger breeds. Their cardiovascular systems, scaled correctly for their size, are remarkably efficient. Their primary health vulnerabilities involve dental crowding, common in small-mouthed breeds, and certain heart conditions that may appear in older age. But compared to the emergency room frequency of most popular American breeds, the Chihuahua is a statistical outlier that most people never expect. This dog has been a companion animal in Mesoamerica for centuries. It watched civilizations rise and fall from someone's lap. Its genetics were shaped not by outdoor labor, but by thousands of years of indoor living, close human partnership, and the slow, quiet selection of animals that simply refuse to stop. The result is a tiny dog with a ferocious, almost irrational will to live and health records that quietly back that will up. The Havanese is Cuba's only native dog breed, and for much of its history it existed within one of the most genetically isolated environments imaginable, island Cuba, where a small companion dog population developed for generations without significant outside breeding influence. That isolation, counterintuitively, produced a remarkably clean genetic profile. The Havanese is a small dog, typically 7 to 13 pounds. With a soft, flowing coat and a personality that can only be described as permanently and genuinely optimistic about everything. Every person they meet is a potential friend. Every morning is the best morning that has ever occurred. Every walk is an adventure of incalculable importance. And biologically, the Havanese carries that same resilient optimism deep into its constitution. Serious inherited health conditions are comparatively rare in well-bred lines. Many Havanese live 14 to 16 years with minimal emergency care. They are not what most people picture when they think of a biologically durable dog. But their health record tells a different story entirely, one of cheerful, consistent, quietly unexpected endurance. And now, the Australian cattle dog. The breed that holds a record no animal in all of documented history has ever broken. And the story behind that record begins on a cattle station in Victoria, Australia, in the year 1910. A blue heeler was born that year on a working station in the Australian state of Victoria. His name was Bluey. He worked cattle for nearly 20 years. Not as a show dog, not as a companion, but as an actual working cattle dog on an actual Australian station, in the heat and the dust and the relentless physical demands of outback life. He lived with purpose. He lived with work. And on November 14, 1939, Bluey died at the verified age of 29 years and 5 months. 29 years. That is not a typo. That is not a regional legend or an unverified claim. That is an entry in the Guinness World Records. The longest confirmed lifespan of any domestic dog in the entire recorded history of human civilization. And Bluey was an Australian cattle dog. The Australian cattle dog was developed in the 1800s by Australian cattlemen who needed an animal capable of working in the brutality of the outback, extreme heat, vast distances, rough terrain, relentless physical demands that would break any dog not specifically built for them. The solution came from crossing British herding dogs with the Australian dingo. The dingo, a wild canid that had survived in the Australian wilderness for thousands of years without human support, brought a genetic toughness into that cross that changed the resulting breed fundamentally. What emerged was perhaps the most biologically resilient domestic dog ever created by human hands. Compact, muscular, typically weighing between 35 and 50 pounds, Australian cattle dogs carry a health record that routinely surprises veterinarians who encounter them for the first time. Few serious inherited conditions in well-bred lines. Exceptional cardiovascular fitness. A natural vitality that seems almost aggressive in its refusal to diminish. They are not easy dogs. Their intelligence and work drive require genuine engagement, daily challenge, and a purpose they can invest themselves in completely. Leave them without a job, and they will invent one. Usually involving your furniture. Or your fence. Or a creative combination of both. But give them work, give them exercise, give them belonging, and the Australian cattle dog will reward you with a decade, perhaps two, of health that most breeds can only approach from a respectful distance. Bluey lived 29 years on an Australian cattle station. He worked until his body finally, reluctantly, allowed him to stop. He died having never broken the record because he set it. Because he was an Australian cattle dog. Because his breed was built by the hardest land on earth for the hardest work on earth. And because some foundations, when they are built correctly, simply do not give way. Because the dog that almost never needs an emergency vet visit isn't just a lucky dog. It's a reminder that life, when built on the right foundation, shaped by real challenge, tested by real adversity, doesn't need to be fragile. That resilience isn't something you manufacture. It's something you inherit. Something earned across generations by animals that had no choice but to be strong. Every dog on this list has a lesson to teach about endurance, history, and what it means to be built to last. Subscribe to keep learning, one breed at a time.